Only 14 people in that gym knew who Bruce Lee was. The man flexing in front of him wasn't one of them. 4 minutes later, everyone would remember his name forever. Oakland, California, August 1964. The air inside the James Lee's garage gym was thick, humid, smelled like iron and sweat. Outside, the civil rights movement was tearing America in half. Inside this concrete box with peeling paint and exposed beams, men came to forget the world. They came to lift, to prove something, to dominate. This wasn't some corporate fitness center with mirrors and motivational posters. This was where dockworkers, ex-cons, and fighters trained in silence. Where weakness was mocked, where respect was earned through steel and skin. And on this particular Saturday afternoon, the biggest man in the room was about to make a mistake he'd spend the rest of his life trying to forget. His name was Frank Matthews, 6'4", 270 pounds of muscle, arms like bridge cables, chest that entered rooms before he did, legs that looked carved from marble. Frank had won 3 regional bodybuilding competitions. He'd been featured in 2 fitness magazines. Women stared. Men moved out of his way. And Frank knew it. He walked through life with the confidence of a man who'd never been challenged, never been humbled, never been made to question his own power. Today, he wore a white tank top that stretched tight across his chest. His skin glistened. He moved between stations like a king touring his kingdom. Every few minutes he'd grunt, loud, intentional, making sure everyone noticed. And they did. Because Frank Matthews didn't just lift weights, he performed. The gym was crowded that afternoon. About 40 men scattered across benches and squat racks. Most were white, some black, a handful Asian. In 1964, Oakland, that mix was rare. But iron didn't care about skin color. At least, that's what most men there believed. Frank Matthews thought differently. He'd grown up in Texas, moved west after his second bodybuilding win, brought certain ideas with him, certain words, certain looks he gave people who didn't look like him. Most people ignored it. Some confronted it. Frank outweighed all of them. Today, he was in rare form, loud, animated, fresh off a competition win the week before. He'd just finished a set of barbell curls. 220 pounds, 10 reps. Clean form. The gym noticed. Frank smiled. Then he saw them, 3 Asian men near the back wall, smaller frames, quiet, focused on their own training. Frank's smile widened. "Hey fellas, this is a weightlifting gym," Frank called out. His voice boomed across the concrete. Conversation stopped. Weights settled onto racks. Everyone looked. The 3 Asian men glanced up, confused, didn't respond. Frank walked closer, each step deliberate. The crowd parted. "I said this is for living. You know, building muscle, real strength." He flexed his right bicep. It swelled like a grapefruit. "You boys looking for the karate studio? I think that's 3 blocks down." Someone in the crowd chuckled. Frank fed off it. "What is it you guys do? Kung fu?" He mimicked exaggerated chopping motions with his hands. "Hi-ya! That gonna help you bench 225? That gonna build this?" He slapped his chest. The sound echoed. More laughter now. Uncomfortable. Nervous. But laughter nonetheless. The 3 Asian men exchanged glances. One started to speak. Frank cut him off. Nah, I'm just messing with you boys. It's cool you're trying. Gotta start somewhere, right? Even if you're built like chopsticks." His eyes scanned them up and down, mocking, measuring. Then his gaze drifted past them, to a man sitting alone on a worn wooden bench in the corner, smaller than the others, lean, maybe 5'7", 130 pounds, soaking wet, wearing a simple black t-shirt, arms crossed, face neutral, just watching. Frank didn't recognize him. Why would he? In fact, Frank continued, louder now, playing to the whole gym, I'll make you fellas a deal. He walked to the center of the space. All eyes on him. Anyone here, and I mean anyone, who thinks their little kung fu, karate, judo, whatever the hell moves can stand up to our real strength, step up. Right now. He cracked his knuckles. The sound like breaking wood. I'll go easy on you. Promise. Just want to show y'all what actual power looks like. Not this mystical ancient warrior movie nonsense. Real. American. Muscle. The gym went quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your ears ring. Nobody moved. Frank scanned the room. His smile was pure arrogance. That's what I thought. All that jumping around, yelling, wearing pajamas. What's that gonna do against this? He flexed both arms now. Full double bicep pose. His muscles cast shadows on the wall behind him. Someone in the back whistled. Mocking or impressed, hard to tell. Then, movement. From the corner. The man in the black t-shirt stood. Slowly. Deliberately. Not rushed, not theatrical. Not theatrical. Just stood. Frank's eyes locked onto him. The smile didn't fade. It grew. Oh shit, we gotta volunteer. Frank laughed. All right, little man, come on up. What's your name? The man walked forward. Silent, each step measured. Balanced. His movements were different. Economical. Like every motion had been practiced 10,000 times. He stopped about 10 feet from Frank. The size difference was absurd. Frank looked like he could palm the man's head like a basketball. I asked you a question, buddy. You speak English. The man's eyes never left Frank's. Dark. Calm. Unreadable. Bruce, he said quietly. His voice was soft. Controlled. No fear. No anger. Just present. Bruce what? Frank smirked. Bruce what? Frank smirked. Bruce Lee? Like the Chinese name? Yes. Someone in the crowd gasped, quiet, sharp. Frank didn't hear it, but others did. Because they knew. James Lee, the gym owner, was in the back room. Someone ran to get him. Two fighters near the weight rack froze. They'd seen Bruce demonstrate at a tournament 6 months ago. An older man by the door whispered to his training partner, "That's him." But Frank Matthews had no idea he was staring at the man who would become the most famous martial artist in human history. He saw a small Chinese guy, thin arms, calm face. Easy work. All right, Bruce Lee, Frank said, rolling his shoulders. Here's how this works. You get one free shot. Anywhere you want. Then I'm gonna pick you up and show everyone here what real strength does to mystical kung fu bullshit. Bruce didn't move. You gonna take your shot or what? I don't need a free shot, Bruce said. His voice was steady. Matter of fact, Frank laughed. Loud. Genuine. Oh, this is rich. Okay, tough guy. Then let's make it simple. You try to hit me. Just try. If you can land anything clean, I'll admit your little dancing moves work. If you can't, he cracked his neck, you apologize to everyone here for wasting their time. Bruce tilted his head slightly, studying Frank like a mathematician looking at an equation. And if I do hit you? Bruce asked. Frank spread his arms wide. Then I'll bow down and call you master. He said it like a joke. Like the idea was physically impossible. The crowd pressed closer. A circle formed, unspoken. Automatic. This was happening. James Lee burst out from the back room. Saw Bruce, saw Frank. His face went pale. Frank, wait, not Jimmy? It's cool. Little Bruce here wants to show us his moves. This'll take 30 seconds. James looked at Bruce. Bruce gave the slightest nod. James stepped back, helpless. Frank dropped into a wide stance. Fists up. Boxing style. Sloppy, but backed by raw power. Bruce didn't raise his hands. He just stood there. relaxed, weight balanced, breathing normal, like he was waiting for a bus. "You not gonna put your hands up?" Frank asked. "Don't need to yet." Something flickered in Frank's eyes. Annoyance. "All right, your funeral." Frank threw a jab, fast for a big man, all that muscle, moving like a piston. It should have connected. Should have. Bruce's head moved 6 inches to the right. The fist passed through empty air. Frank blinked. Threw another jab. Harder. Bruce leaned back. Minimal movement. The fist missed by a whisper. "Stand still, damn it!" Frank threw a hook. A real one. 270 pounds of power behind it. Enough to crack ribs, drop a normal man. Bruce ducked under it, so smooth it looked rehearsed. Frank stumbled forward from his own momentum. The crowd murmured. Frank reset. Breathing heavier now. Not tired. Frustrated. "Lucky moves," he muttered. He came forward more aggressive. Threw a combination. Jab, cross hook. Bruce slipped the jab. Parried the cross with an open palm. And when the hook came, he wasn't there anymore. He'd circled to Frank's left. Outside his power line. Frank spun to face him. Threw another punch. Missed. Another. Missed. Another. Missed. Bruce hadn't thrown a single strike. Just moved. Like water flowing around rocks. The gym went quiet. That heavy, breathless quiet, because everyone was starting to realize. "Stand. Still," Frank charged. Full bull rush. Arms reaching, trying to grab, tackle, use his size. Bruce sidestepped. Frank crashed into the bench behind where Bruce had been. The wood cracked. Frank spun around, face red now, veins bulging in his neck. "What are you, scared to actually fight?" Bruce's expression didn't change. "You asked me to try to hit you," Bruce said calmly. "You didn't say when," Frank roared, literally roared. Threw wild haymakers, left, right, left again, missing everything. Bruce moved like smoke, then, so fast most people missed it. Bruce's hand shot forward. A straight punch. Stopped 1 inch from Frank's nose. Perfectly controlled. Then pulled back. Frank froze. He'd felt the wind from it, felt how fast it moved, felt how impossibly close it came. He'd never seen it coming. "One," Bruce said quietly. Frank stumbled backward, eyes wide. His brain was trying to process. He was bigger, stronger, had 50 pounds of muscle on this guy, but he couldn't touch him, couldn't even see his punches. That don't count. You didn't actually hit me." Bruce's eyes stayed locked on his. "You want me to hit you?" Something in Bruce's tone made Frank's stomach drop. Not threatening, not angry, just certain. I mean, you gotta actually." Bruce moved. A different kind of movement. Not evasive, offensive. He closed the distance in a blink. Frank tried to grab him. Bruce's hand touched Frank's wrist. Light, like a bird landing. Then twisted, redirected Frank's own force. Frank's arm bent at an angle it wasn't supposed to. Not broken, not injured, but completely controlled. Bruce swept Frank's front leg. All 270 pounds of Frank Matthews went down, hard. The concrete floor shook. Frank landed on his back. Wind knocked out of him. Staring at the ceiling. Bruce stood over him, not gloating, not posing, just standing. "Two," Bruce said. The gym exploded, not cheering, not quite. Shock. Disbelief. A few people laughing nervously. Someone shouted, "Holy shit!" Another, "Did you see that?" Frank lay on the floor, gasping. His ego shattered worse than his body. Bruce extended his hand. Frank stared at it. For 5 seconds, he didn't move. Then, slowly, he took it. Bruce pulled him up, effortlessly. Frank stood. wobbly, looking at Bruce like he'd just seen a ghost. "How?" Frank's voice cracked. "How did you?" "You're strong," Bruce said. "Very strong. But strength without control is just tension. Tension makes you slow, predictable." Bruce spoke without condescension. Like a teacher, patient, clear. Your muscles are tight. You telegraph every move. You rely on power to solve problems power can't solve. Frank just stared. "Speed doesn't come from muscle," Bruce continued. "It comes from relaxation, precision, understanding distance and timing." The gym listened. Silent. Revent. "You invited me to show you what martial arts could do. I showed you, not to embarrass you, to teach you." Frank's eyes dropped to the floor. The smile from 10 minutes ago was gone, replaced by something else. Humility. I'm sorry," Frank said. His voice was small, stripped of arrogance. "To you. To them." He looked at the 3 Asian men he'd mocked earlier. I thought size meant everything." Bruce placed a hand on Frank's massive shoulder. "Size helps, strength helps. But they're tools. Without skill, tools break." Frank nodded. Slowly. Could you teach me?" The gym held its breath. Bruce studied him, reading something deeper than words. "You want to learn?" "Yes. Yes. Please." Bruce was quiet for a long moment, then nodded. "Come back Tuesday, 6 a.m. We start with breathing." Frank's face lifted. Relief. Gratitude. "I'll be here." Over the next 6 months, Frank Matthews became one of Bruce Lee's most dedicated students. He showed up early, stayed late, absorbed every lesson. His fighting style transformed. He learned to use his strength with precision, with timing, with intelligence. But more than that, his character transformed. The arrogance melted. The racism dissolved. The need to dominate others disappeared. He became, in his own words, a student of life. Years later, after Bruce had moved to Los Angeles and started teaching celebrities, Frank would tell the story. In gyms, in dojos, to anyone who'd listen. "I walked into that place thinking I was the strongest man alive," he'd say. "I walked out knowing I'd been the weakest man in the room, because I didn't know what real strength was. Bruce Lee taught me in 4 minutes what life couldn't teach me in 30 years. Respect, humility, and the difference between looking powerful and being powerful." The 14 people who witnessed it that day told their friends. Those friends told others. The story spread through Oakland, through the martial arts community, through California. Most people didn't believe it. A 130-pound man dropping a bodybuilder twice his size sounded like a movie, but the people who were there knew. They saw it with their own eyes. James Lee, the gym owner, would say, "I've seen Bruce do impossible things." That wasn't even his most impressive demonstration. That was him being gentle. One of the 3 Asian men Frank had mocked, a man named Chen Park, said, "When Frank was on the ground, Bruce could have humiliated him, hurt him, destroyed his ego completely. Instead, he lifted him up." That's when I understood Bruce wasn't just a fighter. He was something else entirely. Bruce Lee never bragged about that day, never brought it up. In fact, when students would ask him about it years later, he'd deflect. "That wasn't about me beating someone," he'd say. "That was about showing someone what's possible when you open your mind." Because Bruce understood something most fighters don't. Winning a fight proves you can fight. Changing someone's life proves you can teach. That day in Oakland, Bruce didn't just defeat Frank Matthews, he transformed him. And that, to Bruce, was the only victory that mattered. The incident happened during a time when Asian Americans faced brutal discrimination. 1964 America was violent, segregated, hostile to anyone who didn't fit narrow definitions of strength, beauty, success. Asian men were stereotyped as weak, submissive, incapable of physical dominance. Bruce Lee shattered that narrative, not with words, with action. Every time he stepped into a gym, a studio, a demonstration, he was fighting more than just an opponent. He was fighting decades of racism, stereotypes, lies, and he was winning. That day in Oakland wasn't just about one bodybuilder learning humility, it was about everyone watching, learning that what they'd been taught about strength, about race, about power, was wrong. By 1965, Bruce had moved to Los Angeles. His reputation preceded him. Students flocked to his school. Not just Asian students, everyone. Black students, white students, Latino students. People from all backgrounds wanted to learn from the man who'd proven that size, color, and background didn't determine ability. Technique did. Discipline did. Mind did. Bruce never forgot that day in Oakland. Years later, in his personal writings, he'd reference it. The biggest opponent isn't the man in front of you. It's the limitation you've placed on yourself. The day I helped Frank see that, I reminded myself of it too. Because Bruce knew. He wasn't superhuman. He was just a man who'd removed the mental chains most people wear their entire lives. Frank Matthews stopped bodybuilding competitively in 1966. He opened a martial arts school in Oakland. Mixed disciplines. Bruce Lee's philosophy at its core. He taught hundreds of students over the decades. Black kids from rough neighborhoods, Asian kids facing bullies, white kids looking for purpose. He treated them all the same, with respect, patience, humility. In his school there was a photo on the wall, black and white, faded with time. Bruce Lee, standing in James Lee's garage gym. That same black t-shirt, calm, centered, powerful. Under it, a quote Frank had written. "This man defeated me in 4 minutes, then spent 6 months building me back up." That's a teacher. That's a master. That's a man. Frank passed away in 2003. At his funeral, over 300 people showed up. Students, friends, family. And in the front row, a representative from the Bruce Lee Foundation, honoring the man who'd been transformed by Bruce's philosophy. This story isn't just about a fight. It's about what happens when ego meets mastery, when arrogance meets wisdom, when a man who thought he knew everything discovered he knew nothing. Frank Matthews entered that gym convinced his muscles made him superior. He left understanding that true strength comes from the mind, from discipline, from respect, from the willingness to learn. Bruce Lee didn't just beat him. He saved him from a life of arrogance, of ignorance, of wasted potential. And in doing so, Bruce proved what he'd spend the rest of his life proving. Martial arts isn't about violence. It's about transformation. 42 people were in that gym on that August afternoon, 42 witnesses to an event most thought impossible. They came expecting to see weights lifted. They left talking about a mind expanded. They came to watch a bodybuilder flex. They left watching a master teach. They came believing size determines strength. They left knowing control determines outcome. And in the center of it all was a 130-pound man in a black t-shirt, who never raised his voice, never mocked his opponent, never celebrated his victory. Because Bruce Lee understood the real fight isn't against another person. It's against the limitations we accept as truth. And that day, in a sweaty garage gym in Oakland, California, Bruce Lee didn't just win a confrontation. He won a soul. Frank Matthews smiled when he walked toward Bruce Lee that day. Confident, arrogant, certain of his superiority. 4 minutes later, the smile was gone, replaced by tears, not of pain, of realization. Because sometimes the greatest gift someone can give you isn't a victory, it's a defeat so profound, it forces you to become someone better. Bruce Lee gave Frank Matthews that gift. And Frank spent the rest of his life paying it forward, teaching others what Bruce taught him. That real strength isn't what you can destroy, it's what you can build.